This analogy is just a little bit disgusting, but I'm going to use it because it is so appropriate. It fits so perfectly. Stop and think about the last time that you flushed a tissue paper down the toilet. That is the outcome of you when you deal with a narcissist. What is the last thing a narcissist wants to do with you? When he or she is done with you, what they want to do is destroy you. They have no more use for you, and so they flush you away, flush you down the toilet. They totally, absolutely, positively destroy you. The principle is this. What a narcissist cannot dominate, they destroy. What they can't run, they will ruin. Now, what I think is a good illustration of this is I was watching a documentary on Amazon.com about the 1960s pop rock group, the Cowsills. Remember them? Late 1960s, early 1970s. In fact, I think they're still touring. I think the three or four of them still touring. But I love that group. I love their tight harmony, their energy. I thought they were a great group. But there's a story about the narcissist, and you may be wondering what happened to them. And the story goes like this. Bud Cowsill, that is the dad. The guy who managed the group, who was the controller, who was known to be extremely dominating, was in a coffee shop in Las Vegas, if I remember correctly, with his wife. Remember his wife? She was part of the group. Cowsills, the boys, the daughter, and the mom. And so they were in a coffee shop along with son Bill, who is now an adult and married. Well, Bud was the controller, and Bill, he was one of the kids. Well, the kid's now grown up. And so Bud, said something offensive. And Bill took offense, which is what happens when you say something offensive. And so he fired back at Bud. Well, you don't talk back to Bud ever. So Bud apparently, and who knows, maybe they were a little tipsy. I don't know the story, but apparently he flew into a rage, got up to punch Bill in the face. Bill grabbed his wrist. Now, Bud was not accustomed to that because Bill had always been a kid, easy to dominate, but now Bill was a grown man. And he was able to hold his dad's arm, so he was helpless. There were a couple state police officers who just happened to see what was going on, and so they took Bud to jail. What happened next is that Bill, the oldest son, who was the lead singer of the group, was fired. His dad fired him from the group, and to fire him from the group was to fire him from the family. So what he couldn't dominate, he tried to destroy. Now what's interesting is, again, Bill was a lead singer, so the group had to go out and tour. How do you tour without a lead singer? How does a group tour without a lead singer? I mean, how are they going to make up that position? They had to basically rework everything, I guess. I don't know how they did it, but essentially that was the beginning of the end of the Cowsills. And the principle is, one more time, what a narcissist cannot destroy or cannot dominate, they will destroy. All right, let's take a look at this a little bit deeper. So we've got 4 points here. Number one is, about the smear campaign. This is the tool that narcissists typically use to destroy those that they can no longer dominate. And keep in mind that the thing that is most important to a narcissist is to defend his ego. If he can successfully defend his ego, that to a narcissist is success. What is a successful narcissist from his or her perspective? It is defending and protecting their ego. That's all there is to it. They could lose their family, they could lose their business, they could lose their friends, they could lose their possessions, they could lose everything. But if their narcissistic ego remains intact, they're successful. They have, in their thinking, they have won. So you have this smear campaign, this is how they do it. So they demonize you. You are the victim, but they demonize you. They make you appear to be the aggressor. You are the abuser, and they portray themselves as your victim. They do this in a smear campaign in which they talk to everybody, possibly, conceivably, that they know that your entire social circle. So this could be friends, family, neighbors, associates, co-workers, whomever. But even somebody that they know that you casually talk to maybe on the street, they will talk to those people as well because they want your social circle to be totally saturated with this narrative, this false narrative that you are the aggressor, you are the abuser, and he or she is your victim. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but typically my estimate is about 80% of the time it works. Now, why do they want to demonize you? What do they have to gain for that? Well, two things, really. Number one is they convince people not to listen to you. Obviously, they don't want others to listen to you because you know the truth. The number one enemy of a narcissist is the truth, because the narcissist not only lies, but he or she is a lie. They live in a fantasy world. They have this self-perception that seems to be a construct that is intended to fill a deficit in their life where they feel inferior, and so they just go the opposite direction and portray themselves as being superior. And what we see as a result of that is a narcissist. So at the core of every narcissist is somebody who is trying to compensate for feeling inferior. So they isolate everyone from you so that you can no longer communicate with them and tell them the truth. So the narcissist is, in a sense, isolating himself by using your friends, family, whomever, your social circle, as their insulation, as their fortress, as their barrier. But they also don't want those people talking to you, because a narcissist, being a narcissist, victimizes everybody he can, gets supply from whomever he can. Supply being anything that boosts a narcissist's ego. So he doesn't want your friends and family communicating with you, because they will tell you the truth as well. So the narcissist wants all that shut down. So there's no talking, there is no listening, you are isolated, and he is or she is insulated. Number two is forget you. They want you totally gone, forgotten, out of their life forever. Now, it may take a while for them to do that, and by the way, that's not a bad thing. But yeah, they want to flush you down the toilet. They just want you gone so they can move on to their next victim. That, I got to reemphasize, is really a good thing. The further you can get away from the narcissist, my opinion, the better. You don't want to fight with these people because they like to fight. That just boosts their ego. Even if they lose, they think they won, So just stay away from them. Number three is, and this is where Bud Cowsill comes into play, is they tend to take themselves down. Again, the number one thing in a narcissist is defending his or her ego. They will lose everything as long as their ego, from their perspective, remains intact. So what happened to the Cowsills? Well, that was Bud's family. That was his source of income. That was his life. And he was willing to destroy all that because he could not dominate, at least from my perspective. He couldn't control Bill. What you can't dominate, you destroy. What you can't run, you ruin. That is the thinking of a narcissist, and that appears to be what happened. Number four is this. Narcissists tend to overestimate their influence. And that is to say, they imagine themselves being very savvy, very clever. They are almost always very charismatic, which is why they get away with what they do. They're very convincing. The name that I evoke now and again when I talk about this is Bernie Madoff. Remember him, the Ponzi schemer, billionaire, maybe multi-billionaire, money that effectively he stole from his friends and family and whoever they knew. Whatever happened to him? Do you remember? He died in prison. Old man, in his 70s, a little bit older than me. That was the end of his life. Now, hang on a second. I thought it was nice guys that finished last. He was not a nice guy. He's a crook. Well, if nice guys finish last, wouldn't prisons be filled with nice guys? Okay, yeah, I know there are some nice guys in prison. I actually knew some of them. But by and large, people who are in prison, with a few exceptions, are there for a reason, and it's because they were not nice. So this whole illusion that we allow our minds to be permeated with nice guys, you don't want to be a nice guy, you want to be a narcissist. Well, you may wind up like Bernie Sanders. You may wind up like Bud Cowsill, just totally destroying yourself. So don't mimic, don't imitate a narcissist. Their life is not as glamorous or successful as they try to pretend it is. And most narcissists that I know, few exceptions, they don't have much. Some of them don't even have jobs because they don't want to be controlled. They don't want anyone telling them what to do. They're basically grifters, fraudsters. They have to live off other people because they're driven by their ego. Let's keep talking if you want. See those two rectangles on the screen? Click on one of those two rectangles. The conversation will continue. If not, thanks for stopping by, and we will see you all next time.